Let's hear it for Henning Morales.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right, how's everyone doing? How's everyone doing? That's a little bit better. Thank you. I'm going to tell you a story that I try to establish like credibility for myself, because when I tell this story, you're going to think it's like really like far-fetched. Like, can you even make this stuff up? This is called The Dirt Merchants, and this is the book. It's on hardcover, softcover, digital, on Amazon. It's interesting because through the mentorship of Greg Reed, the book went bestseller after 4 days in its digital form. Is that amazing? That's pretty cool. Again, it's finding other people and having how they can help you. It was such a thrill to me that I had a few copies printed, and I started to give the copies to my friends in the entertainment industry. As I said, we've been producing events, red carpet events, and charity events. We've done events for the Boys and Girls Club and the Friends of Meir Panim and the LA Children's Hospital at CBS Studios and the Gibson Foundation at Paramount Studios. We've been producing a lot of events. The charities that we work with are mainly charities that help kids, primarily. And it just happens to be my personal passion. I love kids. I've got four of my own. My life is just really revolved around their worlds. I coach Little League Baseball. I actually wrote a chapter in my new book called How to Coach a T-Ball Baseball Team. So I'm really heavily involved with the concept of teaching kids. The book, The Dirt Merchants, it's really a book about mentorship. It's a book about mentoring kids. It's a message to parents. It's a message to coaches. It's a message to teachers that, hey, pay attention to your teenagers. The book really is a series of short stories. And the stories came from when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, and I was a very, very troubled individual. And we never did anything really bad, but it was just like troublemaker stuff, my friends and myself. And then, again, in the book, you'll see how it happened, why that happened. I was heavily into sports, couldn't play sports, and all of a sudden started getting a little bit of trouble, started becoming a little troublemaker teenager. Now, how many of y'all here are parents? Raise up, okay? And how many of you guys have teens or kids that are going to be teens or kids that have been teens? Okay, there you go. All right, so this is really gets into the mind of a teenager that's troubled, that's having problems. And as the story goes, as a teenager, as a troubled teenager going down the wrong path, I met some very, very exciting people. And they seemed to have it all together. They were making money, doing well. And literally, after meeting these people, and I'm not talking about, it didn't take months, it didn't take weeks, it didn't even take days. Literally within an instant, my life totally changed at 17. And then I went on to follow these individuals in this bizarre sales world that you'll see all of how bizarre it is and how strange the world is, that we were all involved with that back then. Heavy motivation, heavy goal setting and drive and determination. And as a 17-year-old kid, I became totally successful in this company with these guys. And again, totally successful for me was making money. That was what it was all about. And so later on, after all of that happened and I had my successes and my trials and tribulations, and after all that, I went back to college. I went to law school, moved out to California, and started my company that we run now. And in the process of all that, I became very passionate about public speaking and very passionate about sharing my message. And I pretty much would talk to sales groups or groups like this and tell these stories about when I was a 17-year-old kid and met these guys and became successful in sales and in marketing and building this company. So a few years ago, I was gathering my notes, and I said, well, if I strung these notes together, it could be a book. And as I said, it became pretty successful pretty quickly, which was amazing to me because when I wrote it, I never thought of that. How many of you have experienced that? I know there's a lot of authors here. Maybe the first book, you're never really thinking about what's going to come of it, you just want to write it. So I started to give these books out to some of my friends in the entertainment business, people like Drew, and we have Russ Regan on our team, who's another music icon. We have producers, Emmy-winning people, Grammy-winning people that have been involved in the film business, and because of the story, they were insisting that it become a film. Now, here's where things get a little bit strange. My 16-year-old son, who's now 17, he comes to me and says, Dad, you've been writing this thing for 5 years. It's good enough. Just print it already. Just send it to the publisher and print it, right? Set your goal, set the date, right? And so I said, fine, I'll go ahead. I set the date, set the time, sent the final manuscript to the publisher. A very important part of this story, and again, why it's such an important message, in my opinion, why I'm so passionate about it, is because of the strong message in terms of the laws of association, who we hang out with. You just heard a whole talk about it. Affects your belief level, affects your actions, affects your success. We all know this as parents. We teach our kids, the first thing when they say they're going to go out with the kid, well, who is the kid? Who are his parents? Tell me about them. You want to know who they're hanging out with, right? So in the story, the main character guy is our protagonist, if you will, is going on a success track, on a fast success track. He's becoming very successful very, very quickly. And his very close friend is not going along that path. In fact, he's becoming more and more of a troublemaker. And he's actually becoming more of a criminal almost, right? So there's something that happens in the story, which is the key point, where they have to go ahead and break up. The friends have to break up. And the protagonist is heartbroken because he knows he loves his friend and he's not going to be able to hang out with his friend anymore. He knows somehow he's so simple. He's uneducated. He's not really involved in school. No one taught him this, but he knew he had to break up with his friend. Right? He also is sad because he doesn't have the words. He doesn't have the ability to convince his friend to get on a right path. He doesn't have a way to do it without it sounding like a goody two-shoes or like a nerd or like, he can't get it out. It's almost like when you're in that dream and you're scared from something and you're running from something and you try to scream. And how many of you have been there, right? You try to, and it won't come out. He couldn't get the words out, right? I completely cut off from those people. I never talked to them again. I never knew what happened. And in the book, you never hear what happened to that secondary character. In the book, it's the Brandon character. You never hear it because I didn't want to make something up. I wanted everything to be accurate. Now, I told you that I sent the manuscript to the printer. The day after, I get a phone call from that kid. After 25 years, not a peep, I get a phone call. He tells me a story. And after the initial shock, because it was like hearing from a ghost almost, I didn't know whether he was in prison or whether he was even alive or what had happened, right? He sounded good, and I got his story, and he told me his story. And sure enough, he became a criminal. In fact, he became a very successful criminal. He became the leader or the founder of a crime organization that were cat burglars. You know, the guys that rob houses. That's what he did. And they called them the James Bond Gang. And it's been going on for 25 years. You can Google it. If you guys got your computers, go ahead, just Google James Bond Gang. You'll see it all there. The guys from Teaneck and Englewood, right in that area around that time. My friend started that with his older brother, who was really scary. His older brother always scared me. I was very, very afraid to be even around that guy, and another guy. There's a whole story about how that happened. And he's telling me a story. He did that for a few years, and they were living the high life, and then he got busted, and then he went to prison, and then he had that experience for several years, and then he got out, and he tried to live a straight life. He told me that he married his childhood sweetheart, who I knew from back in high school, and they had a kid together, and he's trying to get on the right path. And then he became a plumber, and then the plumbing people, again, the plumbers, right? And then he did that for a few years, but he couldn't stay on the straight and narrow, and then he got busted again. They deported him back to Jamaica, where he's from originally, born in Jamaica, grew up in New Jersey, and then he snuck back into the country, and then he was living under a false identity, then he got busted again. Sure enough, for 25 years, he's been living a life of crime and trying to get on the straight and narrow. He said, I just got busted again, I got put in prison again, and for the last time, I got deported again back to Jamaica. Now I have to stay, and I called you. So I said, that's unbelievable. I said, are you okay? And he He sounded okay. He sounded good. He sounded like he was in a good place. And I said, well, look, guess what? I wrote a book. And he said, you wrote a book? That's great. Oh, man, that's unbelievable, right? That's wonderful. I said, not only that, you're in the book. He goes, oh, I'm in the book. He was happy that he was happy to be. I was nervous. What is he going to think, right? And I said, what I would like to do is I'd like to write an extra chapter in the book to say what happened to Brandon, right? And we can get some closure on your character. And he said, well, send me what you have. I sent him the book. He read it, loved it. Then I wrote an epilogue, and I wrote this scene with his input of how they, like a burglary scene, right? And I sent it to him, and he liked it, and we put it in the book. So when you go to the epilogue, you'll see that that's we wrote an extra chapter, didn't change the rest of the book, and that's where it is. So we have the two friends. One goes on the success track, one goes on this criminal track, and all because the main character found some role models and the other kid didn't. So again, we started to share the concept with people in the entertainment industry. It was something that was very, very well received. You can go to the next slide. Those are some of our consultants. Russ Regan, Chariots of Fire. This is Spinal Tap. Michael Selzman is an iconic Hollywood PR person, a press agent for all three Fondas. Orson Welles, amazing background. Ken Levine, multi-Emmy Award winner. This is the Spencer character. That's the main character. We've got some young hotshots that could potentially play this role. Diego Boneta, Ansel Elgort, Nick Jonas. The Jim character is the mentor. And as you can see, we've got Shia and Aaron Paul, Zac Efron. Mary is the mother character. Very strong female character. Rose is the receptionist. Some very strong personalities. That's the father who's trying to tell the kid, you got to go back to school, you got to get an education, you're in this business and it's not right. Timmy is the kid that Spencer works with to break the all-time sales record of this company. So we got Daniel Radcliffe and Dev Patel, Orlando Bloom. For the Brandon character, Jaden is our favorite. And here's the Diane character. Now here's where things get even more strange. When I was talking to my friend, Brandon, we based the Brandon character on, I asked him, did they ever use these model types to transport the diamonds to Europe? And he said, oh yeah, that's how they did it. I said, well, you're not going to believe this, but my girlfriend, who I went out with for 3 years, we broke up because I found out that she was a international diamond smuggler. And I found, this is where you guys say absolutely no, it did not happen. We broke up over it. I was distraught. So unbeknownst to me, my girlfriend was working for my friend, my strange friend. He was stealing the diamonds from my other friends, and then he was bringing it to my girlfriend, who was smuggling them into Europe. All under my nose. There's a motivational speaker in the book called Banda. And so we took some of these speeches and we created little articles on them, and Ken is running them through his machine around the world. Get these articles out there on Dirt Merchants. Once we get this green lit, we're going to do an internet campaign like no other, and the message is going to be, as we said earlier, pay attention to these kids, especially when they're teenagers. A teenager left alone, we were talking about this over lunch, a teenager left to their own devices can run amok, you know? And a teenager that just gets a simple message at the right time, he completely turn his life around. I'm going to go ahead and leave with one little tidbit. Really helped me early on when I was trying to figure out how to develop the confidence I needed to go ahead and pursue my dreams. And it's a self-confidence formula by Napoleon Hill, and it goes like this. I fully realize that no wealth or position can long endure if not based on truth and justice. Therefore, I will not engage in any transaction that does not benefit all whom it affects. I will succeed by attracting to myself the forces I wish to use and the cooperation of other people. I will cause others to believe in me because I believe in them and in myself. I will eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, cynicism, and greed, and develop love for all humanity. Because I know that a negative attitude towards other people can never bring me success. I will commit this formula to memory and repeat it aloud every day, knowing that its words will affect my thoughts and actions and make me a better and more confident person.
Yeah, baby. Eddie Morales. Awesome.